All right. And then what about you?
I'm Randy, cook.
Okay.
Currently looking for work.
Okay. All right. Listening to you.
Alexis, and I have a job interview.
Good.
Exciting.
Yes, great. That's
What-
great.
And I've met you, so, and you're in.
Mayor and engineering and maintenance.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, no matter, if you've had a job or haven't had a job, it's really good to go over interview questions and just prepare yourself so you're not, because everyone will, you'll get surprised in an interview and they'll say, well, what puts you above the other candidates, or, questions like that. So it's good to, every time you have an interview, to just look over basic questions, and so you're not stumbling when you're in the interview. All right, so this is a basic resume on here, and I have handouts of just basic resumes and things to do in an interview that I'll hand out at the end. But really keep it short and sweet. You don't want to have it too long, because a lot of times you're going through multiple resumes, and you want it to just be short and sweet. This is what I'm good at. This is my experience, and then for objectives. And this is what I do even as a nurse, is I'll go online and I'll look up objectives for a nurse and say, hey, I'm going to cater this objective to specifically me, but it's a good example to look at. I'm going to go for a fast food job, working, or a cook, and look up great objectives to put on a resume for those positions, because the internet's great for looking up stuff like that. So, and then, let's see. When you're writing a resume also, you want to center it around what will benefit the employer, not so much a brag sheet about, oh, I'm good at this, I'm good at that. It's what you can do for the company that you're going for. So, let's see, the thesaurus. Just to have, maybe more descriptive words, more advanced words on there. Use an online thesaurus and pull up, if you want to use, I created this at the company I work at. You can type in created, and it'll come up with a bunch of different words that you can use for that word. And it kind of makes a clean, sophisticated sounding resume. So, all right. Let's see. Also, one of the most common mistakes in resumes is typos. And, even when I'm doing mine, I'll have someone like a coworker or something like that, a previous coworker, a boss, or even a friend, just look over my resume and make sure I don't have typos on it, because the second they see a typo, they're just going to toss it into the next pile. And that's a really common thing to have on your resume, is a typo. So, and then also, getting ready for the interview, there's some basic questions on here. They'll ask you to tell you about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, what you want from the job, what you can offer the job. And so it's good to go over your answers, even look in a mirror, practice with a friend or a significant other about answers to these questions. So let's see. So for a question like, why should we hire you? Just state a lot of, your strengths, like, I'm always on time, like, I'm a hard worker. I may not know everything about this current position, but I'm a fast learner. I'm really willing to put in the time to gain the skills to be a really efficient worker at this position. When it comes to your weaknesses too, because this is a question that's always kind of awkward, and sometimes in an interview they'll ask you this question, but you can always say an answer that kind of leads into a strength. Like, sometimes I work, I'm so compassionate and driven at my job that I might stay late and, maybe work too long of hours. Or another weakness could be, I'm a big picture kind of person. Sometimes I miss the small details, but I always work to collaborate with someone that's their strength. And so just to highlight that, don't say stuff like, you know, I'm never on time, or I'm lazy, or, I mean, don't ever say those kind of weaknesses, you know. Always make sure it's skill-oriented and not a personality weakness. So that's something to remember, because that question will be asked, and it is awkward, and it's more awkward if you don't have a really good answer for it. So, also, whatever company you're working for or going for an interview at, make sure you look up the company and just kind of know their mission statement, know what they're about. And then also, sometimes at the end of the interview, the interviewer will ask, do you have any questions for me? And this is a good time to, you know, show that you have looked up the company and maybe ask them, where do you see the company going in the next few years? What are your goals? How did you start working at this company? And ask them those questions, because it shows you care. And it kind of, sometimes it'll throw them off their guard, because they're not used to having people come up with questions or being prepared and asking them questions. So, okay, do's and don'ts of the interview. Another common mistake is just not dressing appropriately. For women, be modest, like be conservative, like, you know, don't show cleavage or wear really short skirts, or, if, you know, for men, like have clothes that fit. What's great here is that Miss Wanda has places to go to have you be able to get clothes for an interview, and then also they can kind of guide you on what to wear. So that's available to you. So definitely take advantage of that, because that your first impression, what they see, is really important. And you don't want to wear, like, you know, bright colors. You want to really have the focus be what's on the inside and what you're able to offer, and not that have them be distracted by you know, clothes that you're wearing. So always arrive early. Like, you know, if you're late normally to places, just pretend the time's half an hour earlier. I got to be there then. You know, that way you'll be early all the time, because if you're late for an interview, that's just bad. That's just bad. So when you're in the interview, make sure you make good eye contact and have a firm handshake. You know, it is nerve-wracking. You're sitting there, you don't know this person, they're kind of grilling you with questions, so to try to have eye contact and be direct with them. And if you don't know the answer to a question right away, just say, can we come back to that question? I want to think about it. You know, don't talk negatively about previous employers. No matter how bad you want to, if you had a bad experience, don't ever do that, because it just doesn't sound professional. Don't chew gum and don't smell like smoke. That's kind of a given. You don't want to be chomping like a cow in the interviews, you know. And then you don't want to smell like cigarette smoke when you walk in there. You want to smell clean, and you don't want them to be distracted by something like that. Just have the cigarette when you leave the interview. Don't act desperate when you go to a job interview, and then also don't be too casual. Just be professional, sit up straight, you know, make eye contact, have a firm handshake. Be confident, but don't be arrogant or, you know, overconfident. Don't take your significant other, your kids, your mother, your pet. Don't do any of that. And she actually has childcare available here. She can direct you for that if you're going for an interview, so you can go without your kids or without your significant other. Okay. Let's see. Oh, be honest in the interview. And you know, if you can be vague if you're going into a question, and you don't need to elaborate so much if they don't need to hear all of that. You know, I mean, always be honest, but you don't have to oversay, you know, stuff about maybe stuff you're not proud of or things like that. And also another thing that's really, it's a small thing to do, but it makes a huge difference, is writing a small thank you letter to the employer. Even if you get, like, you can make a card or something like that, just saying thank you for taking the time out of your day to sit and talk with me and interview me. And that kind of puts you above the rest, because a lot of people don't think to do stuff like that. So, yeah, my fiance actually recently did that. He started writing letters to all the people that he went on interviews with, and he
Like, I thank them for their time and stuff like that, you know, but I've never
Well, even after you, exactly, like after you leave, when you send a thank you letter or a thank you note, it just reminds them again, oh yeah, like I remember this interview, like, you know, she had a really great interview and I feel like she has a lot of promise. But it'll remind them, oh yeah, well, you know, none of my other interviewers did this, so, you know, she took the time to send me a thank you, even if it's small, thank you for your time, I appreciate you, you know, it can make a huge difference. So, yeah, and you can get like, even at like Walmart or even like the dollar store, you can get just little packs of thank you cards if you're going for a few interviews, and you can fill those out and send those out. So, so as far as clothing goes, don't wear flashy jewelry. Make sure your clothes fit properly. Make sure you have a clean haircut. And for women, just, I mean, do your hair up nice. Feel pretty when you go for an interview. It'll help with your confidence, you know. Let's see. And don't overdo your makeup too. That's another thing. Don't wear too much makeup. Definitely wear a little makeup just to, you know, feel pretty, but don't go crazy with, you know, hot pink eyeshadow or like, you know, I mean, whatever, you know, some people will wear some loud makeup. And then for pants outfits, make sure you wear a belt that matches the color of your shoes. That's another good rule of thumb. So, do y'all have any questions or anything like that? No? So you have an interview today? Where? What time?
At 12:30.
Okay, what's it for?
At Hardee's.
Okay. Do you want to go over any questions? Like, no, you're good? Okay. All right. Any other questions for anyone? No? No? All right, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have some sample resumes and then just some dressing tips here if you want to pick one up. You don't have to, but they're there for y'all, okay? So, all right. Have a great day and good luck on your interview.
Thank you.
And there's also continuing education information in there too. Because Pensacola State has an adult basic education that can set you up for getting your GED or starting college. So that information's in there with a phone number.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Come on, I see you, Miss Wanda.
Morning.